everyone, welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin, and today we are going to be getting a little glimpse into the future to see what possibilities are being written into the next chapter of your life and any plot twists on their way in. So let's go ahead and get a little glimpse. Alright, so welcome back my beautiful kindred spirits and anyone new who may be joining us here on the channel today. I do lots of different pick a card readings on here, so if you're interested as we move through the readings and feel called to, do feel free to subscribe. But we are going to be looking into, like I said, different chapters that you're moving into, right? So we're going to be moving from one chapter to the next and seeing the plot twists and also the archetypes that you're moving from one to the next into. So do feel free to keep your mind open with it and put your intuition cap on, and we'll go ahead and look at these piles here in a moment. But I do want to mention, if you're curious to look even deeper into these piles, or you have another question or query on your mind or situation that you're very curious to learn more on, do consider checking out the different offerings I have down below for snail mail readings. I send these to you in the mail for you to treasure and enjoy, and even open up years to come to still get information and little nuggets of guidance on any question or query on your mind. And you can also check out any digital readings and private readings that you can get through email or through Instagram DM, all of which will be down below to look into more information. So those are great ways to support this space, and I really do appreciate any support that comes through for me to be also able to support you through your own journey. But let's go ahead and look at these piles. So we have 3 different piles here today. The first pile is of the crystal fire agate. So it looks like this with all these really beautiful dips and valleys in the color here of these fiery oranges, reds, and blacks. So that is pile number 1. For pile number 2 here, we have this very shiny stone, and this is selenite. You have this backside, which I felt called to, but you also have this side as well, which has this mandala on it. So that might connect with you. So that's pile number 2. And then last but not least here, for pile number 3, you have this piece of black obsidian. It's super smooth, very deep, and it has also a little set of sort of engravings here of some geometric shapes. So that is pile number 3. So before you start racing off to the timestamps, I like to invite you to take a deep and cleansing breath here with me so you can really connect with each of the piles and connect with your own intuition. So let's go ahead and take that deep cleansing breath here together now. And as always, there's no right or wrong way to choose your piles here. You can choose all 3 of the piles. You can flip-flop between them. There really is no right or wrong way. So do feel free to take your time here. But all of the timestamps will be down below in the description alongside the chapter marks of this video. And like I said, if you're interested to look further on any question or query on your mind, do feel free to check out those private readings down below. And you can also check out the Kindred tip jar while you're there as well. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and look here at pile number 1. Hello group 1, if you've decided to choose this piece of fire agate, then this is the pile for you to look into the plot twists, characters, energy that's coming in for this new chapter that you might be entering, right? We're always changing chapters from month to month, from day to day, from year to year, week to week, right? There's always an opportunity to begin again, to change the script, to change up the story. And so today I'm going to be showing you, and we're going to be exploring one half of this entire little mat here to look into here first where your story is currently at and where it has the opportunity to change and what plot twists might be coming in with that. We're also going to be playing around with the charms here, as well as just 2 decks of the Everyday Tarot and a new Oracle deck that kind of inspired all of this, of the Citadel deck here. It's a fantasy oracle, not sponsored. I just absolutely love this deck and recently got it and thought, let's play around with it here today. So because it is recent, I am going to have the guidebook nearby so we can play around with these archetypes. And I hope you do love the deck as much as I do. So feel free to get yourself settled, get yourself grounded and centered for this. Even have your own intuition cap, on, and we will see what is coming in. I'm not going to go into into high detail of every single thing that's happening. So if you are interested in a private reading or something like that to look even deeper into the current chapter that you're in and stuff that you would like to see in the future in terms of what's unfolding, then do feel free to reach out for one of those down below. But yeah, we're going to start out here with the Citadel Oracle. This oracle has been such fun to play around with, so I'm excited. Let's get right into it. So, what chapter are you currently embodying right now? So these really like to play around with the idea of archetypes within a citadel, which is a city. And we're going to see what archetype you're currently embodying, and then the one that could be coming in the future. That you have a possibility of changing the story, changing the script into. So first we're looking into what exact archetype are you currently sort of sitting in? What character are you playing? So we have here the witch. Very, very interesting. Yeah, you're starting out first with the witch here. Experimentation and rebellion. How beautiful are these cards, right? Beyond the aesthetics though, right? The witch has a lot to do with obviously rebellion, but going against the rules, going against the grain, doing things that aren't always so black and white. And also there's a lot of manifestation that comes with this card. There's a lot of empowerment that comes with the archetype of the witch. So we're going to look deeper into this and we'll talk even more on it here in a moment. But let's go ahead and pull 2 more cards to get a little bit more information on how this is manifesting in your current chapter right now. So as always, do feel free to send your energy in. That always makes a huge difference. So first off, we have the 5 of Wands. Totally makes sense with the idea of rebellion, right? The 5 of Wands has a lot to do with kind of, again, going against the grain and kind of putting your own voice out there. As you can see, there's you could see this as 2 clans or 2 different kinds of people or 2 different kinds of ideas or many different kinds of ideas sort of battling against your own here. And you're kind of having to be your own voice and having your own voice cut through the voice of many. So I do see that you are a very independent person right now. You're going through a phase of independence, a phase of, lifting yourself up, lifting your own voice up, speaking for yourself. So this is very exciting so far. I'm really excited to see that you are in this current stage in your life. So I'm definitely curious to see what comes afterwards. But we also have the 2 of Cups here. Interesting. With the 3 of Cups below it and the Ace of Cups at the bottom of the deck. So, wow. Right now, you are in the height of, like the golden age of the era that you're in right now within your story. So let's go ahead and read on the guidebook. Like I said, this is a new deck to me, so I thought, why not invite you in and let's check out what the guidebook has to say here. So we have the witch here, which is part of the troop, which is the water suit, which represents internal thoughts and the idea of identity and the ego. So here with the witch, I'll go ahead and put it up here in case you want to read it on your own, but it says here, the witch. The scent of new fruit hangs in the air, bright and refreshing. A pestle grinds on its bowl, the sound of stone on stone, a soothing repetition. Just as the first plant of spring bursts forth from the cracks beneath the paving stones, so too does the witch push their boundaries in search of new magics. Knowledge exists only to be expanded upon, reshaped and reformed to a new and exciting purpose. The world is full of old wisdom, but some advice is too outdated for the modern lives we live now. Tradition is a set of guides, not a strict rule book. If you find that you're being held back by how you should approach a situation, break from tradition and forge your own route. Surround yourself with others who think outside of the box and embrace a new tradition. I'll go ahead and read the reverse side too in case it correlates with some of you. It's tempting to buck convention by dismissing it entirely, but most processes become well established because they actually work. While you're busy forging your own path, don't completely forget about the paths that have been laid before. You can borrow inspiration without being trapped by the rigidity of institution. Borrow, change, and adapt as needed. Ooh, I like that. We're definitely going to see how adaptation comes through here as well with your specific cards, because you do have the Two of Cups, and the Two of Cups does speak to kind of intertwining something, right? It can be intertwining two souls. It could be a deep soul connection with someone, especially since we had all of those other cards that can really signify that. It could be a deep friendship that you're building right now with someone. But it also can represent, like they were talking about, the idea of mixing and mingling the new, modern, with the old folk magic, or it doesn't even have to be magic related, right, with the witch. Like, some of you might be a witch, or some of you might, perform magic and spells and ritual, but others of you might not entirely, connect with that. But you might find that just in general in your life, you're kind of breaking the rules, rebelling against them. But there's also a need for kind of intertwining the old that still is working for you, and not having to entirely push it aside, and intertwine it to make something new, right? When we experiment with something, sometimes we have to take a little bit of the old and the new to create and forge something for ourselves. So the fact that you have the witch here, and the idea that you're kind of trying to learn what is working for you, and what from the past you want to still keep, and what you're also trying to kind of push aside or put back to the past, is kind of up to you. There's definitely a kind of internal battle that you're going through, as well as an external battle of pushing those boundaries and experimenting. But I think that this is a really empowering and beautiful stage for you to be in right now. But let's go ahead and see what this next chapter is unfolding for you, and any plot twists that might be coming in. So with the same setup as above, we're also going to do below here, and we'll be pulling charms at the end. But if you're enjoying this reading so far, do be sure to give this video a like. It really does help the channel, so thank you. But let's go ahead and see what new chapter is emerging for you. Ooh, this deck usually likes to take its time, so that's a good indication that it came out quite quickly. Maybe that means this is kind of on its way quite quickly. Ooh, we have the Wise One. Wow, those feel quite aligned with tradition and order coming through. So I feel like you're going to be forging your new traditions, forging new opportunities for creating new order in your life, creating new rituals, creating new ceremonies, creating new spells, and creating new paths for yourself too, that are from a wiser point of view, right? If we start in the idea of rebellion, right, when we're thinking of that, we think of like the teenager, the angst. But when we hit a point of, taking in tradition and understanding the world from multiple points of view, a traditional point of view, a new modern point of view, and looking at the past and future and trying to forge something in the present, that's where this Wise One is really connecting, in the idea that you're really, even though you might be doing something quite different and quite modern or new or evolved, it doesn't mean that it doesn't still hold a lot of wisdom to it. Rebellion is just sort of a naive way of moving through, and kind of pushing through and pushing aside tradition, whereas this, you're taking the best bits and forging this new path. So I like that you're going from sort of this stage of kind of just rebelling, I just don't want it anymore, I don't want to do that, to kind of reevaluating the situation and taking in those best bits. So we do have the Wise One here, but let's pull 2 more cards to get a little more information, right? And I'm not sure if I held this up for you all, so I'm going to go ahead and let you see it a little bit more closely here. But let's go ahead and pull those 2 cards. So as always, feel free to send your energy in, and let's see what is coming in. Group 1. What is next in your chapter here with the Wise One? Yours feels very aligned. They are in different suits though, which I find really interesting. Whereas this one was in the troop, the Wise One actually lives in the court, which represents here achievement and responsibility, right? So you're moving to a much more evolved state, which really feels aligned, right? It doesn't feel like your story is drastically changing. But let's see what else we have here. So we have, of course, the Emperor and the Empress. Oh my gosh, you got both of them together. which is a very traditional point of view, right? A lot of tarot decks are kind of even changing up these cards because the view of the masculine and the divine feminine are definitely feeling more fluid these days. So I feel like it's interesting that you kind of have the wise one falling between these two cards that really uphold tradition and maybe blending it and changing it to create new form. So that's already really exciting. It's always exciting when you get two cards that correlate to each other and come up together, such as a queen and a king of the same suit. The Empress really is showcasing too of an expansion of your ideas and moving away from the idea of the Emperor being much more rigid. And also the Emperor talks about kind of taking all of these ideas and creating a more structured point of view too. So it could go both ways, and I really do think that this is mostly about the idea of them coming up together and that blend that you're creating. So let's go ahead and pull you some charms and we'll look even deeper. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space, and let's see which ones show up for you here today. So group 1, this next chapter. Okay, so you had a few different ones show up here. Let's go ahead and zoom you in so you can see a little bit closer here. But the charms that you got here are really interesting because you actually did get the Mary charm over here in the new chapter with the Emperor. And this one does obviously speak to traditions in terms of like Christmas, religion, holidays and things like that, and maybe that's where you're breaking the mold or restructuring things currently. It doesn't have to be around Christmas, but just in general, holidays, big events, social gatherings and things. And what I also find interesting is over here on the Empress, you actually had the mask fall on their face. I always love when the charms interact in this way. So in this case, this actually represents putting on a mask or kind of holding yourself back, withholding information, or not showing all of your cards is actually what I kind of got here too. In the idea that you maybe did go through this rebellion stage or are currently in this rebellion stage, but now where you're wanting to expand your ideas and kind of change up your ideas, instead of immediately kind of putting all of your cards on the table and showcasing, how you're feeling about a situation, or, kind of having more of that angsty point of view and way of approaching the situation, you might approach the situation from a more I'll hear you out, you hear me out kind of point of view, or not needing to always show everyone how your beliefs may be changing, because it might not, you can expand in the background without needing to show everyone your cards in that way. It also can mean too that you're masking of some sort. So there could also be that you're reserving your ideas so that you can learn and grow in time versus so quickly. So I do see there's like this very mature element that's coming through with this next set of cards in this new chapter, a maturity that you're really growing into. Whereas here with your top cards, you got kind of a connection here all in the center that's happening here. You have the number 2, which I find kind of connects with that 2 of Cups, on experimentation. So that totally makes sense. That checks out with what we were talking about earlier of experimenting and, taking little bits here from here and there, keeping the ones that still kind of make you feel good with this like heart here, but then you also have the rotten apple charm, because it looks like it's a little bead here that has like this little burnt out spot. So it always makes me think of like a little worm that got in there and like rotted out this apple, or that it's, something's disintegrating, falling apart. So I really think that you're trying to take the best bits and leave behind, the rotten core, and let those dissolve through time and move their way out. But there is that rebellion, kind of stubborn, angsty feeling like I was talking about, because you do have the rhino charm ready to just like rip through things. You get into a conversation that goes against certain things that you're kind of moving into, and instead of hearing someone else's point of view, you might just immediately rip through the conversation and really rip a real one to them. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a fast approach, but it isn't always necessarily going to change other people's minds or, make them feel welcome to meet you halfway in a conversation, especially if the point is to change another person's mind. But at the end of the day, I still think that it's an empowering point of view and a way that's really working for you right now. Then we also have the awareness charm over here on the Two of Cups, which makes me think too that you might have someone coming into your life that's giving you a point of view that's actually helping to change your point of view right now and give you a sense of awareness that you didn't have before, especially since we have this ribbon that's showcasing, not only what it means, but also the idea of things intertwining and wrapping together, which you have showing up here in all of your cards, right? Where this one doesn't want to twine together. It feels very resistant. This is showcasing a more blended point of view with you and another. So I definitely got friendship vibes here. So that's maybe a friend that's kind of showing up for you right now and is maybe the one kind of challenging you and helping you to mature a little bit into these ideas that you're experimenting with. So overall, those are all of your cards and charms here. I do hope you enjoyed the new decks and all of the different messages that are coming through. If you did enjoy the reading, do be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below how it resonated for you, if certain charms or archetypes or cards really connected with you. I'd love to hear. And also, if you haven't already, do consider subscribing, as I put out new readings every single Monday for love, career, spirituality, and I plan to do some more educational videos here in the future. So if you're curious to learn more about my practice, more about the cards that I use, more about charms or art magic or anything like that, I would love the feedback down below and to hear from you, because, I want to make content and educational videos that really help you. So do feel free to leave those comments and also subscribe. And if you haven't already as well and you're interested, you can check out the offerings I have down below. I have a Kindred tip jar if that's something that you feel called to, but you can also check out the other ways to support this space and support yourself through the private readings that I do, especially if you want to look even deeper into this, to the different people, and we can even look specifically in timing and all of that kind of stuff. So do feel free to check that all out down below. And I'm wishing you the best in this new chapter, and I'm very excited for you, rooting for you along the way, and I hope to hear from you and see you in the next one. Bye! Hello Group 2, if you've decided to choose this piece of Selenite, then this is the pile for you, as we are going to be looking into the charms as well as several different oracle decks and all of that, which I'll have listed down below, to see what chapter you are currently in and what chapter you are moving into. What characters, people, places, and archetypes are you shifting and changing from one chapter to the next, and any plot twists in between. So we're not going to go into crazy detail today, so if you're interested to look even deeper, I do have my private readings open in case that's something that you're interested in, to look even deeper here. But we're going to look at a few cards, and what actually inspired this entire reading is actually a new deck I recently purchased, and absolutely am loving, of the Citadel Oracle. It's a fantasy oracle, so it actually kind of plays with the realm of fantasy versus just typical archetypal decks of a frog and prairie grass and the flame and things like that. This actually talks about specific archetypes within a fantasy world, and each of them living in different portions and sections of the city. So it's really fun. It's got my, storytelling element really buzzing. So I hope it does for you as well. Do feel free to get yourself cozy and ready to go for this reading. And we're going to start off here by splitting this into two sections. This top section is going to be about the current chapter that you're in, and then the possibility of a chapter you can begin to write into your life and manifest into your life, right? We all have agency. You don't have to do what comes up in this next chapter, but it is one that is more aligned with you and on its way in if you so wish. So with that in mind, let's just get right into it. And because this is a new deck though, I do want to mention we might be playing around with the guidebook here, because it's just really fun when you get a new deck to see the author's point of view. But let's go ahead and see what intuitive insights we get here first on the current chapter that you are in. So do feel free to send your energy in. What chapter and archetype are you currently embodying? Group 2. And I know a lot of people choose group 2. It just is naturally what happens. So sometimes it takes longer to shuffle the cards. But let's see what you received here. So you have the Champion. Interesting. And I'll go ahead and hold it up for you so you can see here on all the beautiful details of this card. But the Champion speaks to the idea of both achievement and how achievement sometimes can also be our downfall. So not that you're going to go through a big downfall right now, but there is this feeling of like the Champion sort of putting their whole heart into something, and in doing so, sometimes that can also have the risk of it going the other way. I keep seeing like these little onions like chilling in the background here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see them, but it just kind of looks like these little onion shapes, which is making me think of like warding or trying to, ward off sickness or ward off, something coming in. And sometimes by us holding ourselves back or holding ourselves, back from forward movement, which is kind of what I'm seeing here with the idea of like this weapon being wielded for forward movement and it breaking and kind of falling into pieces and you feeling kind of bound or held back here. It's really giving me this feeling that you're kind of protecting yourself from something that you're excited about, or even just something that's ready to come in. And I feel like it's going to be really interesting to see what comes up in the second card especially. But let's go ahead and play around with seeing what the guidebook says as well and see if that connects with you. So here we are with the Champion, and it says it's part of the Academy suit, which is connected to the air element of development and growth, and also a lot to do with really big change. So here we are with the Champion. I'll go ahead and hold this up here so in case you want to read on your own. But it says here, steel flashes in the sun, an opponent yields, the crowd roars. Victory is a heady brew, and the Champion raises their arms, drinking in the praise and adoration. But overconfidence is blinding, and behind them, their opponent gets back on their feet. You're riding high on victory at the moment, and you've earned the right to celebrate, but don't let it go to your head. Not only could your arrogance unpick all of your progress, but if you turn back on a half-finished job, you may see those successes fall apart faster than you can hold them together. And then the reversed meaning here, which you might feel a little bit of both of them. Instead of triumph, you are experiencing defeat and lack of ambition. This is kind of what I was feeling for you all. If this continues for too long, you may feel as though you are stagnating or losing interest in the things that you previously had passion for. Emotionally, you may be needing some external support to bolster your belief in yourself. So yeah, I was really feeling that reversed meaning in the idea that like you might be feeling a bit of like loss of interest in something that used to kind of light you up. That's what I was feeling, right? Like I said, you had something that you were passionate about that you wanted to put action to, but that it's kind of fizzled or faded a little bit, or you're feeling like you need to block yourself from it for some sort of reason. So let's go ahead and pull 2 more cards to really get a little bit more nuance to this, yeah? So let's see a little bit more on the current chapter that you are in with the Champion here. I'm almost seeing like fallen embers as well, which we'll see if you get like a Phoenix Rising moment with your second card. But let's see. So you have both Justice with more of that sword energy, swords really representing like action or movement in some way. It also can represent truth. So yeah, let's see how else that is coming through for you. And we have the three of Pentacles. So like I said, it's like you want to build something, but you're kind of worried about the consequences that'll come from that, because justice really does speak to consequences. The action that we take will also come back with an equal and very, fair respective action, right? So sometimes it's not like in a karmic way or in a mean way, but just, if you open a door, the door can also close, right? Every action has an equal and fair reaction. So you might have a consequence that just comes forward from something that you're wanting to build or grow right now. And you might be feeling a little bit stuck or a little bit stagnant in it because nothing's moving, nothing's changing. And that's mostly because a lot of action isn't really being taken, possibly on your part, or you're taking action, but those actions just keep falling apart. Like you can't grab any traction towards them. So let's see how this is interacting with the chapter you can now be moving into or have the possibility to start writing into your life. So we're going to pull another archetype here. So do feel free to send your energy in and really connect with the cards here. And let's see, group 2, what do you have coming in for this new chapter? And maybe you might even surprise yourself with what comes next. So group 2 here. Group 2, what do you got coming in? Definitely not as fast as the first pull, or for the first pile. So it's taking its time, really thinking through. Okay, so we have the Musician afterwards. Definitely not what I was expecting, but a really lovely surprise. Because where you were kind of in this stuck, stagnant feeling, when we think of music for me personally, I don't know if this is something that resonates for everyone, and as I speak about this, I'll go ahead and show you the card, but if I'm having a stagnant day where I can't get anything done, I'm feeling really stuck, I'm feeling like nothing's happening, and like I just can't do my chores, I can't work on any of the projects I want to do, I just feel blah. The moment I just turn on music for like 5 seconds, all of a sudden I'm like, this whole new renewal of energy comes in, and I can just, things flow easier and things have so much more ease to them. And what once was quite difficult actually kind of, I don't know, it's really quite magical, honestly, for me with music. And I wonder if that's similar for you, or if it's something that you might be kind of connecting with and having music be a way of moving through this current situation that you're in. But we do have the Musician with inspiration and gratitude. You might be a musician. This might be about a creative endeavor that you're going into, and wanting to maybe collaborate with other people, but are worried about the consequences or not getting a lot of traction on something that you're trying to build here, whether that's a community or a connection with someone, or a project. But it seems like the project is starting to take a little bit more shape, or at least become a little bit easier than it once was. Inspiration and gratitude. How interesting. So let's go ahead and pull 2 more cards here to get a little bit more context. Where we had like the onions sitting here, and oh my gosh, these cards feel so different. Where you have like the onions and things feeling a little bit more like botanically like difficult. You have like such open flowers here. I'm not sure if they're lavender, or they're probably not lavender, but some other kind of growing flower just feels really free flowing. Like there's a lot of freedom that's coming through from this card as well. So let's see a little bit more information. This is also of the troop. So where you have the air element, we're now moving into the water element, which is a lot more free flowing, and there's a lot less resistance. So first off, we have the Lovers. Oh my gosh, the Lovers represents a choice to either choose another, right? It can talk about like literally choosing another person. With the Lovers, you know, it can be in a more romantic card, but I also am just getting the feeling of like choosing yourself, or choosing a path that leads you towards what you truly desire versus what maybe is more practical or seems more realistic, right? And this is playing in more of the fantasy realm, the dreamy realm, the, you know, getting what you desire kind of realm, which a lot of people think is kind of silly or unrealistic, or you're going after goals that don't make any sense. But, you know, sometimes we need a little bit of that. And the Musician also speaks of the muse, right? Of really going after what speaks to your heart and speaks to your gut and speaks to your beyond just like your mind. Your heart is really taking the front seat. And then we have the Eight of Wands, which talks about this probably happening quite quickly. So you might have an opportunity that comes in that you choose to take that kind of really changes up your world here. And I feel like maybe right now you can't even understand how this could come in for you. Or maybe you're feeling just really stuck in this, that it's just like, it doesn't even feel like a point of view that's open to you, or even makes sense. Maybe you're looking at this and you're like, the Musician, the Lovers, the Eight of Wands, that doesn't even make sense for me. But it seems like it's gonna be a very, not a whiplash in a bad way, but I do think that it's gonna be a very quick transition between this chapter and the next. And I feel like it's gonna be one you're gonna be able to like look back in your life, and you're gonna know when that quick pivot happened. You're not maybe going to know it in the moment, but you're going to know it like down the line a couple of years. And you're going to be like, whoa, that's when that happened. That's when I made this choice that really snowballed into all of these other opportunities that I once couldn't see. Especially since the Justice card usually has a blindfold over them, which is making me think that you couldn't always see that this was even a possibility sort of for you. But with that in mind, let's go ahead and look at more on the Musician, because I did speak to this one, but let's go ahead and look what it has to say here. Again, it is part of the water suit of the troupe, with internal thoughts and identity, and also can speak to like the sort of ego as well. But let's go ahead and read on the Musician. If you want to read it yourself, here you are. But it says here, the Musician. A ship sits in the dock, ready and waiting to sail on the next tide. But while the sea demands patience, music drifts from the deck, and with it a voice, one that sings in celebration of the bounty that has brought them to the citadel, and the promise of a next adventure ahead of them. Whatever the Musician has, they've worked hard for it, and their gratitude and appreciation of their fortune spurs them on to an even greater future. The Musician is the dawn that follows the night, and hopefully optimism after a period of struggle. After facing your problems, you're now in alignment with your true self, or will be soon, and it's time to appreciate yourself for the struggles that you've come through. Given your achievements, you're also in a unique position to provide inspiration to others who are still facing their own personal darkness. And then in reverse here. Reversed, the Musician indicates a difficulty finding the positive side of a situation. Setbacks may have chipped away at your optimism. Literally the chips, like, it just feels so connected. Chips away at your optimism, or perhaps you've been too idealistic about something, and the reality of the situation has left you feeling listless and despondent. Take this into account when getting back on track. So I don't think this is about getting back on track for you. I really think right now you're kind of breaking that down. You might be going through kind of setbacks in a difficult situation where missteps are happening, consequences are happening to those missteps. You might be feeling just really in a kind of struggled state to get a project or yourself sort of off the ground. But I really think quite soon you're going to be getting like a whiplash of the situation where it really changes and gets you off of the dock and unanchored, especially with the anchor on their arm here. Unanchored and, choosing to believe in yourself, believe in your capabilities, and to believe that there is a future that doesn't have to be so realistic, that doesn't have to be so hard and true facts, that doesn't have to be so harsh. And I feel like you're going to give yourself a little bit more love and care and appreciation through this. So that's really exciting. So let's go ahead and see the other nuance that we're going to get from the charms. But if you have enjoyed this reading so far and have found it useful in some way, do be sure to give this video a like. It really does help the channel, so thank you. But do feel free to send your energy in through time and space, and let's pull a few charms for you. Okay, so not too many charms here. I'm going to see where this one wants to land. Okay, so this one does not want to be a part of it, and this one does. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom you in. And you only got 4 charms here. The one that landed that I just threw out is the light bulb charm, but I also see this, for whatever reason, it makes me think of the Ace of Cups. And the idea of like something lighting you up. And so I really feel like you're feeling this choice is going to give you not only a bunch of possibilities, but literally light you up from the inside out. As you can see with the Champion, it's a quite dark card, but when you actually do take action and kind of open your eye to something, open your eye to the possibilities that aren't so realistic and stagnant, that's also going to illuminate the binds that you currently have on you, and to illuminate that you have a choice to kind of cut those binds away. Especially since we have the binds showing up here on the anchor that we talked about earlier, and on the strings of this guitar or this lute or whatever it might be. But there's a lot of freedom that comes in with this second card in this new chapter, and freedom being a really big part of it, and choice towards what lights you up. We also have this cycle charm that's happening down here by one of the people that is meant to be helping you within this process. You might have been reaching out to people to help you with something that you're trying to get off the ground. But it seems like they're just in a cycle, you're in a loop, and it's not changing, you're not getting anything new from it. So a choice must be made to make to divert from the current path you're on. And then we have the abundance charm, which is happening here too, next to the 3 of Pentacles, which is just reminding me again that you're in a situation of a lot of abundance. And abundance can be a beautiful thing when it's attached to the thing that we want abundance in, right? Usually money and finances. But when it comes to an abundance of advice, or an abundance of people kind of trying to get in on our kind of business here, or even just an abundance of, cycles just going in and out and nothing changing, that can be a little bit disheartening. So the fact that you have so much freedom coming in here, so much choice, and the ability to change things and to kind of celebrate yourself a little bit more is really exciting to see. So those are all of the charms and cards that I have for you here, Group 2. I hope you did find this useful, and if you did, do be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below how it resonated for you. I'd love to hear the nuance that came in for you. And also, if you haven't already, do consider subscribing, as I put out new readings every single Monday for love, career, spirituality, educational videos on the charms, and so much more. So I'd love to have you a part of this community. And also, if you're interested to look even deeper into this, because I know it was kind of more overarching and not as detailed or specific when it came to what's coming in here, then do feel free to reach out for a private reading. Or if you have another query or question or situation that you want to get some more insight on, you can check out those snail mail readings that I do, or other private readings down below. And another way to support the channel is the Kindred tip jar, if you feel called to it. Everything that goes in there goes right back into the channel, so I really do appreciate any of the support. So with all of that said, I do hope this has been useful to you here today in writing your next chapter, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello, Group 3. If you've decided to choose this piece of black obsidian, then this is the pile for you. Here today to look into what chapter you are currently in, and then also look into a possibility of a chapter, a little glimpse of a chapter that you might be writing next into your life. We're going to be using the charms today, as well as only 2 decks, so we're not going to go into deep detail, although I do love to ramble, I love to talk, so we'll see how many details we get, even with the limited supplies. But if you're curious to look even deeper at any plot holes that might show up here, then do feel free to check out the private readings that I have below. But the reason why I was feeling called to this specific reading was actually a new deck I recently purchased and am in love with, and it is the Citadel Oracle. It's a fantasy oracle. It has so much fun lore to it, and I won't bore you with all of the details, but basically it's a oracle that showcases a myriad of characters that live within a city, and within the city there's different sections that correlate to different elements, such as the fire, water, earth, and air. So we're going to see how that correlates with you here today in Are you in a more of a watery stage, a more air stage, fire and earth? But we're also going to be playing around probably with the guidebook as well, because it is new to me, and I love to showcase to you all that guidebooks aren't something to shy away from when you get a new deck. It's very fun, and they're made for a reason, right? So we should play around with them. They are tools that are meant to be used. So I like to just showcase that to you all, that especially for those of you who are beginners reading, that definitely use the guidebook. It is fun, but your intuition is also useful too. There's a balance there, but let's go ahead and start getting into it. So we're gonna pull one archetype to represent the character or person or current chapter that you are in right now, and then we'll pull more in terms of what you're moving into. And you have agency. You can disregard what comes up in the second piece of this reading and just be like, ooh, that is not what I want to align into my life. And if that is true, then use this as a tool to make sure you go the other way. You have complete agency over that. But this just gives you a little glimpse, a little spice into the possibility that might be coming in for you to write a new chapter in. So let's go ahead and see where you are currently at first. So feel free to get cozy and settled. Send your energy in through time and space. And let's see, group 3, what do you have coming in here with Black Obsidian for your current chapter that you are in? Which archetype, character within the Citadel really connects with where you are right now? This deck really does like to take its time, I've noticed, since I've been working with it. So we'll see. You have here the Acolyte. It says here, new projects and learning. These are beautiful cards, and you have it currently in the air element, which is the Academy, which represents those who are really trying to lift themselves up and learn in some way or grow in some way. So you have the Acolyte, new projects and learning. And so an Acolyte is somebody who kind of reminds me a lot of like a modern day version of what we would think of as in like a apprentice, or someone who's like a student teacher, or someone that like follows around an expert of their trade or of their for their knowledge or for their skills, and follows them around to kind of learn from them and grow from them. So if we think of the Acolyte as that, then you might have someone who's guiding you right now, and it doesn't have to be someone you physically know. It could be a celebrity, it could be a artist, it could be a muse of some sort. It could be a spiritual teacher. It could be something as simple as your next door neighbor, right? But you're definitely learning something from someone who you really admire and you really respect as well. So let's go ahead and pull 2 more cards to get a little bit more information on that. We might even check out the guidebook as well. These tulips are also showing up, which I find really interesting. Tulips are very hardy plants, right? If you think of the tulip, they're like one of the first flowers to grow in the spring. And so that represents how like hardy they have to be to come in, even with the snow still sometimes falling. So there also is a hardiness to where you are right now, and it almost makes me think of like if you were forging something, you have to like harden the metal, otherwise it'll just continue to soften up, and so you have to kind of temper the metal in some way. So I'm almost feeling like you're going through this big learning leap, right? Maybe you're using Skillshare, maybe you're using a platform like this to learn and grow. But whoever it is and whatever it is that you're learning, I do think you're also using it to kind of become more resilient and become more sturdy and strong, and possibly more independent as well. So before I waffle on, let's go ahead and pull you 2 more cards to accompany this. So okay, we got the 5 of Swords, group 3, and the Magician. Okay, so you also had the Page of Cups in case that resonates for anyone, but yeah, you have the Magician and the 5 of Swords. The 5 of Swords can showcase that even though you are learning from someone who you really respect, who has a lot of the skills, right? Because the Magician usually showcases all of the different suits, right? The Wands, the Swords, the Cups, and the Pentacles. But even though they have it all, even though they have all of the information that you're wanting to grow and learn from, right? Maybe you're in an internship, maybe you're learning from someone higher up in your job right now doesn't mean you have to like everything that they do. Because we also have the Five of Swords showing up here, and the Five of Swords can showcase someone who's kind of competitive, but it can also showcase like not always aligning with someone with their ideas. So even though you're learning right now and growing, and following someone's ideas doesn't mean that you can't bring in your own 2 cents, and that you shouldn't follow your own intuition and your own path within this. So yeah, really interesting. I don't think I'm going to read on the guidebook for this one because I'm very curious to see what you have coming in next. We might come back to it though. So let's go ahead and pull what is coming in for your next chapter though, and see what comes in. So do feel free, as always, to send your energy in, bring in your own intuition here, see what's coming up in the cards for you. And let's see, group 3, what else, or rather, what archetype and person within the Citadel are you most aligning with in this new chapter of possibility that's showing up for you? Ooh. Okay, so you did get the cartographer on the bottom, so in case that resonates with anyone, I'm going to go ahead and show that. But the one that I actually felt called to was the one that we picked up here, and that was the founder. It says foundations and community. So if you think of this as the Citadel, right? This is the founder. This is the person who really was like the first house in this city and really helped it to grow and grow. So with the founder showing up here with foundations and community and this tapestry here, it really is showcasing that this is like a crossroads for you in the idea that you are, yes, learning from the foundation that you got here from the magician, who is the person that you're learning from, or the wisdom that you're gaining right now, or whatever it might be. Like I said, it could go many different ways. But whatever this new information, this new skill, this new trade that you're getting and gaining from someone and kind of challenging is also going to transfer into the founder, into your next chapter. So they're very much aligned in that way. So I don't think you're going to have very big drastic changes or big plot twists into what's next in your story. It definitely feels aligned. But the founder is really showcasing that there are, and I'm feeling called to this thistle. I don't know if you can see this thistle here in this tapestry, but it feels like you're kind of wanting to break away from what keeps getting caught in the process of building something new for yourself, right? So if this is about foundations, yes, you have a foundation of knowledge, but with this thistles represent things that like get stuck in your foot, little needles that kind of needle at you. And there's something that's just not aligning with you, right? So even though you're gaining all of this new information, doesn't mean you have to keep doing what everyone has been doing. You don't have to stick with the tradition. You don't have to stick with following everything to a T, right? It's kind of like how you can cook a recipe off of the internet, right? You can learn it, you can cook it, you can do everything. But to kind of be a chef, versus a cook represents needing to kind of take and experiment with what you've been given and to grow into something new, right? So yes, you know how to make a grilled cheese, but like maybe you want to make a ham and grilled cheese, or you want to put pineapple on pizza, right? This is experimenting and trying something different. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not. But the point is you're moving into a stage where you're building your own foundations and you're kind of putting away, and I think I've read the guidebook on this one before, and they talk about this sword and this hammer and the idea that you're putting down this sword where you felt like you needed to fight against this person, and instead using your newfound skills and foundation to build something new with the hammer. So let's go ahead and pull you some cards alongside to get more information here, and we might read in the guidebook on one or both of these to give you a little bit more to chew on. But I definitely want to see more on this founder. So group 3, we have the sun. The sun does represent innocence and like a naivety and young nature to this. So you're definitely just at the very beginnings of moving from the stage of being the student to the teacher, or being the student to the person who now has a really good solid foundation to grow and mature your knowledge. The sun also representing and showing up twice here of like exposing yourself to more points of view as well, and maybe not it's almost feeling like, you know how you learn from your parents, and then the moment that you move out, you now see a whole different point of view and a whole new set of beliefs and a whole new world to you. It's kind of reminding me too that yes, you might have this really solid foundation, but that doesn't mean you can't still explore other possibilities and other ways of doing something. Or like, you know how you can, I don't know why I feel like I need to give you a whole bunch of different examples, but you know how like math teachers, you'll learn, like your parents learned how to do a certain equation and get the same answer as your teacher, but you don't do it correctly because you're not doing it in the same set that now is being taught. So it really just feels like you're getting like a second opinion or a different point of view, and that you shouldn't just take one person's point of view as the point of view. You know what I mean? So yeah, expanding, looking elsewhere, networking, and trying something else. We have the Three of Wands here. I just don't think that your story is ending here, is basically what I'm really getting at. That yes, you're learning and growing, but I don't think it's going to stop here. I think in this next chapter that you're moving and building into really is just showcasing that like maybe you're going to outgrow this teacher or outgrow this information, and you're ready to kind of bloom into something else and try something new from a fresh point of view. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and read on the Acolyte, because I just feel like that one has more to say here. So yeah, the Academy is the part that it's in, which is development and growth. And here is the Acolyte. I'll go ahead and hold it up here for you so you can see. And you can also pause here in case you want to look further. But yeah, the Acolyte. Beyond the awe-inspiring hush of the temple is a rush of productivity. Students in ill-fitting robes rush past, arms full of books, or they sit quietly in rows as they study their scriptures. Under the priest's wise guidance, the Acolyte is eager to begin their journey of learning. They fear that they'll never be good enough to step into their role ahead of them. Even so, they are excited for the world that is opening up to them, and they are determined to embrace it with conviction. If it feels like you're not making progress lately, it may be time to think about learning something new and expanding your horizons. Take up a hobby, a new class, or a fresh experience. You'll enjoy the rewards immediately. Learning is an infinite journey. Embracing the fun of new experiences will provide the fresh perspective you need. And then the reversed, in case this resonates with any of you, it says here, reversed, this card shows an Acolyte who has not yet progressed as fast as their peers. Though you've been working hard, you're not yet where you hope to be. Just remember that this work hasn't been for nothing. Everything you've learned is still helping you to grow and reach your goals. It just hasn't come to fruition yet. Don't let yourself get too overwhelmed. So that's a little advice for where you currently are. But when it comes to the founder here, they are in the court suit, which is actually moving higher up in the citadel, if you think about it as, the city. So this moves into achievement and possibility here with the founder, here in case you want to read. And it says here, the founder. A tapestry hangs in the great hall, wide enough to cover the entire wall. It tells the tale of the citadel's founding, the great battles that were fought, and the first stones that were laid. In the center is depicted the citadel itself, a bastion of peace nestled in the landscape. Among the figures working on the walls, one humble person stands. This is the citadel's founder, the warrior who laid down their blade to pick up the hammer instead. To build a community, the foundations must first be laid. What sort of person must you be to best support those around you? Someone you know may be asking for help, but you may not be able to provide what they need right now. Assess whether you're the right person to assist them, and if not, work out why. What's holding you back from being the best support that you can be? Now is the time to address any unresolved feelings so that when you build that community, you can do it together. And then reversed here, it says, giving too much of yourself to others can leave you feeling emotionally drained. Rather than continuing to give, take a step back and focus on your own well-being, or build your own city before you reach out to help others with theirs. So you might be feeling more called to what the guidebook had to say, which is why I wanted to give that 2 cents. But honestly, I'm still really feeling the idea that, like, maybe the reason why you're feeling a little, some of you might be feeling a little bit like this feeling or need to build community is because the community that you're building is a community of resources where before you were learning from one person, now an entire community can build together. So I really see you kind of lifting that up and possibly moving into a leadership position of your own to help teach, but in a way that feels more community-based than, one-on-one. So I know I've waffled on these cards quite a lot, so let's go ahead and pull you a few charms to finish off your reading. But if you have enjoyed the reading so far, do be sure to give this video a like. It really does help the channel so much, so thank you. But let's go ahead and pull you some charms. A few that keep wanting to fall here. So let's go ahead and zoom in and see what you got cooking up here. So, okay. First off, we have the trim charm, and the trim charm comes from, it's weird to say trim charm. Anyway, it comes from a pair of like little fingernail clippers, which makes me think of like minute things that you're trimming away. It's not trimming away an entire foundation or getting rid of something entirely, but just trimming little pieces, kind of a maintenance feeling that we're getting from this trimming. And it fell here between both the Three of Wands and the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords representing you kind of feeling an inner conflict towards what you're currently learning, and the Three of Wands being about wanting to build more of a community-based learning environment. So what you're kind of trimming away is what's going to kind of lead you towards this Three of Wands. So it might mean needing to trim away bits of the learning that isn't really connecting with you anymore, or the actual person you're learning from. But regardless, there's some sort of need to trim there, or some sort of maintenance in your learning. Then here on the Acolyte, you have the button charm. So whenever I see this, it represents closures. And then you also got the little tiny charm I have here, which represents a pipeline. It looks like a little pipe. So the fact that you have a closure, meaning that that's part of your pipeline, and then you have the trim showing up here, means that the person that or the place or the material that you're currently learning from is going to run out of, the pipeline's going to get clogged up. It's going to not really work out for you as much for long-term growth. So there definitely is a need for a second opinion or another place of learning, possibly a community-based learning for you next up. And the fact that we go from closure to a more open charm just continues to solidify that. And it fell here under the thistle again. And this is the washer charm. It represents feeling kind of wishy-washy about something, not entirely making up your mind. It also can represent something sort of being washed away. And the thistle represents something that obviously it doesn't feel good in your foot. If you guys have ever been around thistle, it has thorns that can get in your feet and kind of stick to your clothes and all sorts. So, right, you're kind of wanting to wash, trim, or let go of something to be able to move to this new community-based learning phase. So those are kind of the cards and charms that you're really getting here for your reading. But if you have enjoyed this reading, do be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below. I love hearing what you guys have to say. If there's certain things that really sparked your interest, maybe with the new decks or other charms and things. And if you haven't already, do consider subscribing, as I put out new readings every single Monday for love, career, spirituality, educational videos, and so much more. So do feel free to check the channel out for all of those readings and future readings by hitting the notification bell to stay updated when these readings go up. And also, if you want to look even further on this, if you want to expand upon it and see more nuance, the people, the places, the other plot holes that we didn't really get to go deeply into, then do feel free to check out the snail mail readings, digital private readings that I do down below. But you can also use those to look into any situation or query or question that might be on your mind. So do feel free to check those out. They both support you and the channel, so I really do appreciate anything that comes through. And you can also check out the Kindred tip jar, which is another great way to support this space, as everything that goes in there is what makes me be able to get some new decks and supplies, like the Citadel deck here. So again, thank you so much for being here with me today, and I do hope this has been useful for you, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.